Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News and Indian Perspective on All India Radio. This is Prashant Kumar Sinha, and with me is Reshma Tiwari, bringing glimpses of major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment and more. As the world fights the COVID-19 pandemic, we begin with a message of precaution to stay safe and protected by following these three simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain social distancing, and focus on hand and face hygiene. The headlines. Mass protests continue in Myanmar for 8th straight day amidst continuing arrests of military critics. India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman says Union budget has set pace for India to become Atmanirbhar. China refuses to give raw data on early COVID-19 cases to WHO-led team investigating the origins of the virus. Germany announces revocation of license for Chinese cable company CGTN. EU calls on China to reverse ban on BBC World News television channel. Former head of the European Central Bank, Mario Draghi, was sworn in as Italian Prime Minister. World Radio Day being celebrated across the globe today, and in cricket, India was 300 for 6 against England at stumps on day 1 of the second test match in Chennai. Rohit Sharma scores 161. Opponents of Myanmar's military coup continued to hold mass protests for 8th straight day as continuing arrests of military critics added to anger over the detention of elected leader Aung San Suu Kyi. Thousands assembled in the business hub Yangon and condemned the kidnapping at night by the military. The United Nations Human Rights Office said yesterday more than 350 people, including officials, activists, monks, have been arrested in Myanmar since the coup on the 1st of February. The 47-member UN Human Rights Council adopted a resolution yesterday calling on Myanmar to release Suu Kyi and other officials from detention and to refrain from using violence on protesters. The United States this week began imposing sanctions on the ruling generals and some businesses linked to them. Meanwhile, state-run Global New Light of Myanmar newspaper said thousands of people had joined pro-military demonstrations in parts of Myanmar yesterday. India has urged the leadership of Myanmar to restore the rule of law and the democratic process in the country. Speaking to the media, a spokesperson to the External Affairs Ministry of India said India is constantly engaging with its immediate neighbor Myanmar.
We believe that the rule of law and the democratic process must be upheld as immediate neighbors with close cultural and people-to-people ties, as well as relations which are strengthened with exchanges in the areas of trade, economy, security and defense. We are closely monitoring developments in that country, and we will remain engaged with all concerned in this issue.
The External Affairs Ministry of India has stated that the sailors on board cargo ship MV Anastasia are expected to reach India on the 14th of February. Spokesperson to External Affairs Ministry of India, Mr. Anurag Srivastav, confirmed this on Friday.
MV Anastasia has sailed out of Kafudian port for Japan to effect crew change, and the crew is expected to reach India on the 14th of February. And you would know that the ministry and our mission has been continuously following up on the issue of our standard sailors aboard this ship with the Chinese authorities.
The ship had been on anchorage near Kafudian port in northern China since 20th September. It was granted permission for crew change recently by Chinese authorities after consistent engagement from the Indian side. China has refused to give raw data on early COVID-19 cases to a World Health Organization-led team probing the origins of the pandemic. According to reports, one of the team's investigators revealed this to the media. The development potentially complicates efforts to understand how the outbreak began. The WHO team had requested raw patient data on 174 cases of COVID-19 that China had identified from the early phase of the outbreak in Wuhan in December 2019. However, the team was only provided with a summary, said a team member, according to reports.
In India, the second dose of COVID-19 vaccine is being administered to healthcare workers from Saturday. It will be given to the beneficiaries who have taken the first dose on the 16th of January, the day when the world's biggest immunization drive was launched. The second dose is given to the beneficiaries after an interval of 28 days from the first dose. Speaking exclusively to AIR News, Dr. Randeep Guleria, director at AIMS, said as soon as people are vaccinated, the country will come out of the pandemic.
Today now we are starting the second dose of the vaccination. I would request everyone who is due for the second dose, according to his convenience, to come forward and take the second dose. I would also request all those who have not taken the first dose also to come forward and take the first dose of the vaccine also. By getting everyone vaccinated as early as possible, we will be able to come out of this pandemic in a very smooth manner.
India's COVID-19 recovery rate has improved to 97.32% as a total of 11,395 patients recovered during the past 24 hours. The total number of recoveries has gone up to 1,06,625. The Health Ministry said the actual caseload currently comprises only 1.25% of the total positive cases. Presently, the total number of active cases in the country is at 1,36,571. The ministry also informed that 79,67,647 beneficiaries have been administered COVID-19 vaccine so far. During the past 24 hours, 12,143 new cases were reported, taking the total number of positive cases in the country to 1,892,746. This is All India Radio giving you the news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on Twitter at AIR News Alerts.
3 steps to stay protected and stay safe from COVID-19. Wear face mask, 2 gaz ki duri to maintain social distancing, maintain hand and face hygiene.
The 13th of February is celebrated as World Radio Day across the globe. The day was proclaimed by the member states of United Nations Education, Scientific and Cultural Organization UNESCO in 2011 and subsequently adopted by the United Nations General Assembly in 2021 as an international day. In today's Hotspot segment, we join the rest of the world in celebrating World Radio Day.
Radio is one of the most widely consumed medium across the world. It has the ability to reach out to the widest audience, in the process shaping a society's experience of diversity and providing a platform for everyone to be represented and heard. According to UNESCO, radio is a powerful medium for celebrating humanity and constitutes a platform for democratic discourse. The theme of World Radio Day this year is New World, New Radio. It will highlight the services rendered by the radio medium throughout the crisis. This is Saira Mujtaba, News Desk.
As the world celebrates Radio Day today, we fondly recall the legendary voices that enthralled the listeners of All India Radio News. The mellow voice of iconic radio broadcaster Melville DeMello regaled listeners and inspired many in the country to become voice artists and newsreaders. He is remembered for his high-quality reports and commentary on various events in the country. Here is a vignette of that vintage voice from the English feature The Vacant Chair, aired on All India Radio.
It was a ceasefire on all fronts, but even as the guns fell silent, the long black-bordered lists of those killed brought the first news of tragedy to many homes. The voice you will now hear is the voice of a man so bereaved. He lost an only son in one of the many famous tank battles fought during the hostilities with Pakistan. He wishes to remain anonymous, and we shall honor that promise. He speaks for many homes in which today there is a vacant chair. The story of his boy could have been, with variations, the story of your boy, whom we honor in this program.
I have here a message, telegram, that has come from a very dear Mohammedan friend of the family, Mr. K.A. Abbas. He says, your sacrifice for nation, first in our family. This is what I want to emphasize. First in our family. Even he is writing, during this war, may God give you all enough strength to bear this. The thought that comes to my mind is that he, Tipu, and so many others have laid down their lives. It's a very painful thing for the bereaved families, because once they are bereaved, war is no longer an impersonal event. It's a very personal and a very pinching experience. But to me, it brings the thought that this is the first war that we have been engaged in for our honor, for our policies, and it has certainly raised our stature. We have come out worthily out of it. No price could be enough for it. I would also like those who control the destinies of this nation and also the masses, the general public, not to forget the blood of these boys and the tears of their parents that have gone into this struggle and which have brought us out of it covered with glory.
The advent of death is like the coming of a great wind. No man knows whence it is, nor where it goes. Its visitation is often without reason, and its action without intent, the understanding may perceive. One thing alone it shows: by his death man sets a seal upon his life, and in the manner of his dying is revealed the strength of his spirit. For the spirit of man is born in the secret places of his will, and shaped by the private utterance of his desires. He himself knows not its ways, or perceives the manner of its growth. But if the spirit be set upon high things, then in death it will be without fear, not as the foolish, who know not solemnity, but with true courage, dignity, and consideration. Death is a solemn thing, but much of the sting is lost in the comfort of the words uttered by those who have suffered because of it.
Vice President Venkaiah Naidu and Prime Minister Narendra Modi have greeted people on World Radio Day. In his message, the Vice President called upon all the stakeholders to utilize the medium to impart knowledge in areas such as education, agriculture, culture, science and technology, and empower the listeners. On the occasion, the Prime Minister greeted all the listeners of radio and congratulated all those who keep the radio buzzing with innovative content and music. He heaped praise on the radio as a fantastic medium that deepens social connect. Mr. Modi said that he had personally experienced the positive impact of radio thanks to the Mann Ki Baat program aired on All India Radio every month. Information and Broadcasting Minister Prakash Javadekar also extended greetings on the occasion. In a video message, Mr. Javadekar said the expansion of radio is continuously increasing.
रेडियो का प्रसार बढ़ रहा है, लोग रेडियो सुनते हैं, खेत खलियान में, काम पर, चाय की टपरी पर, टीवी नहीं देख सकते। सोशल मीडिया एक मर्यादा के बाद टेलीफोन में पढ़ते रहना असंभव होता है। रेडियो सुनना ये एक अपनी विरासत भी है और रेडियो सुनना बहुत आनंद भी है। और अब जिस तरह से मोबाइल में ही रेडियो आ गया, तो पॉकेट में मोबाइल है, कान में तार है, स्पीकर है और सुनते रहो, तो ये अनुभव रेडियो का है। इसलिए रेडियो डे के उपलक्ष्य में मेरी बहुत सारी शुभकामनाएं।
On World Radio Day, Chief Executive Officer of Prasar Bharati, Shashi Shekhar Vempati, praised News on AIR mobile application of All India Radio as a unique innovation with wide reach.
Today is World Radio Day, and I think what we did with the News on Air app to put 200 plus live streams on a mobile app for radio anywhere in India, I think is a fantastic innovation. I don't think any broadcaster in the world has that. So all of that is going to create avenues for our digital growth going forward. But all of this will happen only if we transform the way we work. We have to think cloud, we have to think automated, we have to think IT and software and algorithms. That's the only way this change is going to happen. We cannot operate the way we operated in the past. I think that's the imperative, that's the need of the hour.
The Indian Parliament has passed the Jammu and Kashmir Reorganisation Amendment Bill 2021. The Lok Sabha gave the nod today to the bill which seeks to merge the J&K cadre with the AG-MUT cadre for All India services. The bill had already been passed by the Rajya Sabha. Participating in the discussion on the bill, Home Minister Amit Shah stated that Jammu and Kashmir has been the top priority of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and a lot of development projects have been taken up in the Union Territory. He said the government wants to make Jammu and Kashmir self-reliant and emphasized that development will reach even the remotest areas. He also suggested that statehood will be granted to Jammu and Kashmir at an appropriate time, and the bill has no bearing on the decision to grant statehood to Jammu and Kashmir.
3 परिवारों ने जो विकास को रोक कर रखा है उसको पटरी पर चढ़ाकर जैसे ही उचित परिस्थिति होगी जरूर जम्मू कश्मीर को पूर्ण राज्य का स्टेटस वापस देंगे। इसका इस बिल से कोई लेन देन नहीं है। ये बिल से पूर्ण राज्य वापस आने की कोई संभावना समाप्त नहीं होती है।
India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has said the Union Budget for 2021-22 has set the pace for India to become Atmanirbhar through the reforms and stimulus. The Finance Minister was replying to the general discussion on the Union Budget in the Lok Sabha this morning.
India to become Atmanirbhar even after the pandemic, and even as the pandemic is probably reviving in some countries, because we had an approach which was very spearheaded from the front by the Prime Minister himself. We've had a kind of retraction in the pandemic. The death rates are the lowest in the world. Active cases have come down. We have actually managed to bend the curve. And as a result, the revival of the economy looks a lot more sustainable, and this budget therefore gives the necessary impetus.
In the northern Indian state of Uttarakhand, rescue and search operation for the 25 to 35 people feared to be trapped inside the tunnel is going on. Rescue teams have successfully made way to another tunnel which can give an idea about the trapped persons. A report from our correspondent.
Drilling work started at Tapovan NTPC site again with new and more powerful drilling machine this evening to expand the diameter of the hole which leads to another tunnel. And rescue teams were able to reach this small tunnel which is beneath the present tunnel. Drone cameras are being used in the main tunnel to know the whereabouts of the trapped people, and mucking from present tunnel is also in progress. Today, rescue work started on another area, which was actually a construction zone over the tunnel and where maximum number of workers were working at that time when the flash flood came. Because of the slush in huge volume, and it could be 40 feet in height. Today, by diverting the flow of the river, an approach road is being prepared to that particular area so that bodies can be recovered.
The Japan Meteorological Agency says that a very strong earthquake of magnitude 7.2 has shaken the northeastern coast near Fukushima. The quake hit 89 kilometers southeast of Sendai, Japan late at night. According to the U.S. Tsunami Warning System, there is no threat of a tsunami from today's magnitude 7.2 earthquake in the Pacific 89 kilometers southeast of Sendai, Fukushima Prefecture, Japan. According to the Japan Meteorological Agency, JMA, no tsunami should be expected either. Only slight changes in sea level.
Former head of the European Central Bank, Mario Draghi, was sworn in as Italian Prime Minister on Saturday. He has secured the support of almost all the main political parties following the collapse of the previous administration last month. He has already named his cabinet after meeting the Italian president on Friday. We have a report.
Economist Mario Draghi confirmed on Friday that he had enough support to form a new ruling coalition in Italy. Following a week of consultations, almost all the main parties from across the political spectrum pledged their support to Draghi. Italy is grappling with COVID-19 pandemic and is also facing its worst economic crisis in decades. In this regard, Draghi, an economist with experience at the highest levels of the European Union and as governor of the Bank of Italy, is being seen as a safe pair of hands. 73-year-old Draghi, who is credited with having saved the euro, will oversee the spending of over 200 billion euros in European Union recovery funds. The funds are aimed to relaunch Italy's economy badly damaged by the pandemic. Tanvi Taneja for World News, All India Radio.
Germany has announced that it has revoked the license for Chinese cable channel CGTN. According to reports, the channel no longer has permission to be broadcast in Germany. According to an agreement amongst several European countries, CGTN license in Germany had been approved by Ofcom as part of a license sharing initiative. With the revocation of the Ofcom license, CGTN is left without permission to broadcast in Germany. On Friday, China had barred UK's BBC World News from its television networks. Hong Kong's public broadcaster said it would stop relaying BBC World Service Radio a week after Britain revoked Chinese state television's broadcast license. China's NRTA said that BBC World News reports about China were found to seriously violate broadcast guidelines, including the requirement that news should be truthful and fair and not harm China's national interests. On the 4th of February, China's foreign ministry criticized the BBC for its coverage of China's response to the COVID-19 pandemic and dismissed its reports as fake news. China has also expressed its displeasure with BBC reporting of China's actions on Uyghurs and other ethnic Muslim minorities, including alleged forced labor and sexual abuse of women in the western region of Xinjiang. The BBC has said it stands by its reporting as fair and accurate. Meanwhile, British Foreign Minister Dominic Raab had termed the ban an unacceptable curtailing of media freedom.
In another development, the European Union on Saturday called on China to reverse its ban on the BBC World News television channel. The move was imposed in an apparent retaliation for Britain's pulling off the license of state-owned Chinese broadcaster CGTN. The EU in a statement said that Beijing's move further restricted freedom of expression and access to information inside its borders and violated both the Chinese constitution and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. This is All India Radio giving you the world news. The 13th of February, which is the birth anniversary of Sarojini Naidu, is celebrated as National Women's Day of India every year. Sarojini Naidu was an Indian political activist and poet. Sarojini Naidu actively participated in the Indian national movement for the independence of the country. She was famous with her nickname Nightingale of India because of her poetry. Sarojini Naidu was awarded Kaisar-e-Hind for her work during the plague epidemic in India by the British government in 1928. Let us celebrate her life by listening to her at her eloquent best at the Constituent Assembly debate from the Prasar Bharati archives.
I shall now request Bulbul-e-Hind, the Nightingale of India, to address us not in prose but in poetry.
Mr. Chairman, the manner of your calling me is not constitutional, it is poetic.
Order. No reflection from the chair, please.
It reminds me of some lines of a Kashmiri poet who said, Bulbul ko gul mubarak, gul ko chaman mubarak, rangeen tabiyaton ko range sukhan mubarak. And today we are steeped in the rainbow-colored tints of speech and speeches in praise of my great leader and comrade Rajendra Prasad.
Indian astronomers have reported one of the strongest flares from a speeding supermassive black hole or blazar called PL Lacerta. Analysis of the flare can provide a lead to probe into mysteries and to trace events at different stages of evolution of the universe. The finding was made by a team of astronomers led by Dr. Alok Chandra Gupta from the Aryabhat Research Institute of Observational Sciences, ARIES. Speaking to All India Radio, Dr. Gupta explains the significance of the discovery.
About 1 billion galaxies in the universe, similar like our Milky Way, are known. The center of these galaxies is supermassive black hole of mass range million to billion solar mass. Only a few of these galaxies are known as blazars. About 100 bright blazars are known and they emit radiation in the complete EM spectrum. These objects have about 50 to 100 years of optical data which can be used to predict when next flaring event will occur. It was predicted that blazar BL-LAC will show a strong flaring in 2020-2021 and for that observations are carried out under International Consortium WEBT, Whole Earth Blazar Telescope, and we detected a strong flare in which 250% flux varies between 27 October 2020 to 16 January 2021. These observations are very useful to estimate the black hole mass of the blazar BL-LAC and understand its emission mechanism.
A Tribes India conclave was organized in association with the Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India at the Tribes India Adi Mahotsav on Friday. The event was attended by over 120 diplomats from more than 30 foreign missions in India, besides senior officials from the Ministry of External Affairs that also visited the Adi Mahotsav. There is a separate GI product stall also which features renowned exquisite items from across the country. Geographical indication tagging has acquired a greater significance ever since the focus has shifted towards vocal for local and to building an Atmanirbhar Bharat. These initiatives will also help recognize and promote age-old tribal traditions and methods that are in danger of being lost.
Moving on to sports, in cricket, India were 300 for 6 against England at stumps on the opening day of the second test match being played at the M.A. Chidambaram Stadium in Chennai. Rishabh Pant was batting on 33 and Akshar Patel on 5 when stumps were drawn. While Rohit Sharma scored a superb innings of 161 runs, Ajinkya Rahane also contributed 67 runs. For England, Moeen Ali and Jack Leach scalped 2 wickets each, while Ollie Stone and Joe Root took 1 each. Moeen Ali today became the first spinner to dismiss India skipper Virat Kohli for a duck in Test cricket. Earlier, India won the toss and opted to bat first. England lead the 4-match series 1-0. In tennis, Rafael Nadal stormed into another round of 16 appearance at the Australian Open with a clinical victory over Cameron Norrie in straight sets. Meanwhile, in the women's singles, Shelby Rogers beat Annette Kontaveit in the third round. In football,
I mean, it's just so cool to be back here the last few weeks and have, all of the support and some sense of normalcy in these tough situations. But I feel the support from home. All my friends and family are watching. They set their alarms. Some of them slept, but I'll forgive you guys. But no, it's just been really cool to, be here and have the atmosphere and a little extra motivation to make it through 5 more days, right?
In football, Leicester City beat Liverpool 3-1 in Saturday's English Premier League encounter. Manchester City will play Tottenham shortly from now.
Now let us take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. Wall Street Journal writes that Chinese authorities refused to provide World Health Organization investigators with raw personalized data on early COVID-19 cases. The Washington Post writes that black lawmakers urge Biden to stop the deportation of black immigrants. Cambodia-based Khmer Times writes that ASEAN and India agree to review FTA on decade of anniversary. The New York Times reports that Governor Andrew Cuomo's top-aide told lawmakers that New York withheld data on the virus's toll in nursing homes to forestall potential investigations. Guardian reports that Hong Kong is in alarm over proposed law that could ban anyone from leaving. The Sputnik News Democratic senator urges to halt impeachment trial over new reports about Trump-McCarthy call. Global Times reports Cambodia approves emergency use of China's Sinovac COVID-19 vaccine.
The Sydney Morning Herald writes that Greek tennis player Michael Pavlorakis tests positive on arrival to South Africa after leaving Australia.
A quick look at the headlines once again. Mass protests continue in Myanmar for 8th straight day amidst continuing arrests of military critics. India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman says Union budget has set the pace for India to become Atmanirbhar. China refuses to give raw data on early COVID-19 cases to WHO-led team investigating the origins of the virus. Germany announces revocation of license for Chinese cable channel CGTN. EU calls on China to reverse ban on BBC World News television channel. Former head of the European Central Bank Mario Draghi was sworn in as Italian Prime Minister. World Radio Day being celebrated across the globe today. And in cricket, India was 300 for 6 against England at stumps on day 1 of the second test match in Chennai. Rohit Sharma scores 161. India is celebrating the 151st birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. Before we end, let's listen to his favorite bhajan, Vaishnav Jan, by artists from Bangladesh. And with that, we end this bulletin. See you at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.